Welcome to the Music is My Life podcast from Berklee Online. I'm your host, Pat Healy, and I want you to take note of the Go team. Ian Parton started recording some music at his parents' house in Swansea, England in the mid to late 1990s, and some of that music would eventually become Thunder Lightning Strike, the debut credited to the Go team, which was really just a team of one guy, Ian Parton, with his brother helping out. So he had all these years to work on this music, mostly on his own. But then in 2004, when the Memphis Industries label released the album to wide acclaim, he started getting offers to play gigs, like really big offers. He had to put a band together, quickly. That's when a young rapper by the name of Ninja answered an ad in the paper and brought an energy into the band that changed their sound, but not their positive spirit. And this live version of the Go team also received wide acclaim. We've got both Ian and Ninja on this episode to walk us through their musical lives, as individuals and as a band, and to figure out how they've stayed so tight as a unit for so long, especially when so many bands from the first decade of the 2000s have disappeared. But Ian says he's still a little surprised he's still able to make music for a living. Let's start with him, and let him start at the start.
I never dreamt I would be doing this for my life, but I do remember as a kid, my ears would kind of prick up with theme tunes. And it's something that's obviously sort of stuck with me because people have always latched onto that, the sort of theme tuniness of the Go team, you know. But I distinctly remember like hearing like Action themes and the Tomorrow People and the Rockford Files and stuff like that. And I think more than others, I would go, hang on a minute, whoa. And I would kind of run to the piano in my mum and dad's house and maybe try and copy it or something like that. So I guess that was my entry. And then I had the usual kind of indie entry, you know, with the Velvet Underground and the Wedding Present of the Pixies and the Smiths and all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of a conventional route into indie with, you know, with an older brother who kind of tips you off about the good shit, you know, the sub pop stuff and Nirvana and all that lot. But then I kind of always thought, hang on, why don't those worlds collide with other cuter kind of stuff, you know, the things I'm drawn to as well, like girl groups and the music from Sesame Street and cartoons and the kind of trash Russ Meyer B-movie world and stuff like that. So I think really from a young age, I was interested in the clash of noise and kind of cuteness, you know.
So what bands are we talking about as a kid? Because you mentioned the theme music and then you mentioned the Velvets, but like...
just the dodgy stuff, you know, Simple Minds and stuff like that. I like the Breakfast Club.
The movie or the band?
The movie. So I actually went to see Simple Minds in Wembley Stadium, but between buying the ticket and going, I kind of saw the light and realised this isn't good, and I wanted to be at Reading Festival instead, you know. So
there was a band called the Breakfast Club around that time too. They were kind of bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you'd mentioned also figuring out stuff on the piano, and did you have any lessons, or was it?
I was a kid that never stuck at anything. So I had piano lessons, but I didn't stick at anything. But any clubs I was in, I always bailed on it, like after a week, whatever, you know. So no, I wasn't. I mean, drumming was my thing. That was my entry into music. You know, I would save up for a drum kit for my Saturday job. And anyone that knew me as a kid, I was tapping all the time. So my snare drum was the change in my pocket and my chest was my bass drum. I'm a tapper for life, you know. So it's like I've got a rhythm kind of going through me like at any given point. So that was my entry, was drumming. I was in a school band called Riot Sister, named after a Telescope song. And we would, you know, detuned our guitars and we were into MBV and stuff like that. So not really much has changed, to be honest. You know, I think I had pretty good taste as a youngster, you know. The kind of stuff I'm into is kind of pretty constant. You know, I do like warpy, tremolo arm, MBV kind of stuff, you know. So, you know, you can really trace a line from me as 18 to kind of me now, really.
That's great. Wait, what was the name of your band?
Riot Sister.
Riot Sister. How many people?
4.
You were drumming?
I was drumming in that one. I used to get really carried away. This was my first band, so I used to really go for it.
That's terrific. And then, so Ninja, or should I call you Ninja? Or
there's nothing else to call me.
Well, isn't your name's Nkechi, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just Ninja.
So what was your musical awakening?
I listened to everything, but the music that has shaped me was hip hop music. So my older brother used to buy loads of vinyl, and he would trap me in his room and he would force me. He wouldn't let me out until I had listened to all of his vinyls. So I'd stand there leaning on the door going, yeah, this one's going to be, what do you think of this one? What do you think of this one? I'd be like, yeah, I like it. No, I don't like it. So I grew up listening to loads of 90s hip hop, all the sweary stuff, all the explicit lyrics and all of that. And that is kind of, and I also used to read like poetry, but then because I used to write poetry and listen to hip hop, the two kind of came together, and that kind of, that's what kind of made me get into rapping. Yeah, it wasn't a conscious thing. It just kind of, that just kind of happened. But there's loads of other music that I really like, and I really love loads of 80s stuff. And when I was in primary school, as punishment, they used to put us in the hall facing the wall and make us listen to an hour of classical music. So now I actually really enjoy classical music because I was exposed to it a lot as a child. And my mum used to do long drives to my brother in university, and I'd be in the car, we'd be driving for 3-4 hours, and we'd be listening to what she liked, which was like 50s music, like don't let the stars get in your eyes, don't let the moon break your heart. That stuff, like what about like Doris Day and Bing Crosby? And so now I really also love musicals. Like I love them. I love like Singing in the Rain, those classic musicals. Yeah, my tastes are quite varied. When I was in school, everyone loved the boy bands and everyone loved the Spice Girls, and I was never into any of that stuff. I was into gangster rap. That was it.
What are we talking like? What could you recite like Straight Outta Compton from start to finish, or Bring the Noise? Or...
I'm really bad with lyrics, but I love my choruses. I love stuff with melodies, and I love the rhythm. So I was listening to Lords of the Underground and Onyx and Tim Dog, and yeah, obviously all the stuff that everyone else knows, all the Dr. Dre and what else, Young Black Teenagers and Cypress Hill and stuff like that. So it was proper like hardcore hip hop. So now I have a problem with hip hop at the moment, but it's because I grew up with it being something else. So I really don't enjoy drill music and whatever the hell it is that people are doing that they're rapping over right now. I really, really, really don't enjoy it. And that's putting it mildly and being really nice about it.
Right. Okay. So then now in your house, Ninja, there were 5 of you, is that right? Growing up?
Five siblings and parents.
And is anybody playing music? Any instruments around the house?
Ha 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 ha.
Really? No?
You clearly don't know I'm Nigerian. No, there are no musical instruments in my house. So now in Nigerian households, you're allowed to be doctor, lawyer, or accountant. That's it. Those are the 3 acceptable career paths. So no, there were no bloody musical instruments in my house because they wouldn't, like, why are Nigerians playing musical instruments when you could be a doctor, lawyer, accountant? I remember I said to my dad in my late teens, I said, Daddy, I'm going to be a rapper. And he said, rap what? Rap presents? Like he literally thought I was going to be in a shop rapping presents for people, rapping gifts, you know? Wow. So he really didn't understand the concept of it at all. And there is actually an entire generation that don't know what rap is. And I've had conversations with people. Well, it's a lyrical, it's lyrics and poetry over a rhythmic beat. Yes. I've actually had to describe to them what it is because we take for granted that we know what it is, but there are people that don't.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And Ian, what was the situation at home? You mentioned your older brother, but was it just the 2 of you?
Yes, so my bro, my family are Welsh, so there's some sort of genetic harmonising thing going down. Both my folks were in choirs in Wales, and yeah, like kind of 4-part harmonies kicking around and stuff like that. But apart from that, yeah, they were kind of encouraging of music. You know, my bro was a guitarist. We were in a band together at one point called Slot Jockey. But yeah, me and my brother would sit around with a little cassette deck and make up these daft little songs, you know, sort of hitting a traffic cone with a drumstick and stuff like that, you know.
Oh, that's great. What were you recording on?
I probably just a cassette. Yeah, so I was definitely obsessed with music as a kid, but like I say, if somebody had told me this was going to be my life, God, I would never have believed it, you know.
Well, yeah. When did you start to realize that, I guess? I mean, I know the first album's 2004, so I'm guessing you were about 30 when the first
that's right.
album hit?
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot of stuff in between there. What was going on? How many other bands were you playing with? And was that
in university? I was obsessed with the idea of ramming together different things, even at that point, when I was 18. And I called my dissertation film, my kind of end of year film, Channel Hopping. And, and it was, again, obsessed, it's lots of jumping around, jump cuts and stuff like that. So I think this kind of jump cutty, ramming things together idea has been with me from way back. And in uni, I would get a karaoke machine where you could have two cassettes next to each other and you'd tape from one side to the other. And I would kind of get like a Tijuana, Herb Alpert, really sort of cheeky trumpet loop, and then do like white noise and guitar feedback and stuff over the top of it, So it's almost like the seeds of it have been around since way back, and it's almost like I was preparing for like 15 years for the Go team,
Well, so what were you looping on? Just cassettes?
Yeah, just cassettes. And then I got the Akai S1000 sampler. Basically, I did film documentary, like documentaries for the Discovery Channel. That was my job. I worked in TV, so I'd travel the world and go to NASA and make films about space missions and bog bodies, mummies, things like that. So that was my job, and I was, so I'd done that for quite a while. And after work, I'd come home and sort of fire up my sampler, and 4-track, just monkeying around really, but and hoarding these little ideas, just hoarding. That's really my thing. Is I just keep going until things kind of loom out of the darkness. These ideas just kind of get stuck in your head, and they kind of become the players in the song. They become the thing which you hang the song around, and then you stick other ideas next to it. So that process was going on for years, and I had a few false starts. I was on the first song that I really felt I could call a Go Team song, was kind of how I wanted to sound, was this song called Get It Together, which was like really sort of cheeky recorders over an electro beat with a bit of a sort of Jackson 5 feel to it, and then a bit of a banjo, so it kind of had a countryish thing and distorted drums. And so it's like when I did that, was like, okay, this is it. This is the kind of the blueprint for my band, what I want to be, and that was way back. That was like the late 90s. That was,
Yeah, and that one's on the first album too, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And is that like the version from the late 90s?
A little. It's pretty much. It's beefed up a little bit. But yeah, I think I was recording on tape on a 8-track reel-to-reel tape at that point. So the reason it's distorted is because of that.
That's interesting. I want to talk a little bit more about. You mentioned growing out of Simple Minds, and also doing mashup movies. And I want to talk about that time period. Were you totally against mainstream things? Like, did you at the time appreciate the things like U2 was doing with Emergency Broadcast Network, like the Octung baby stuff? Or were you just saying?
I was too much of a indie snob for that. I wouldn't have acknowledged U2. But, things like Beck, Odelay and Corner Shop, the way they were kind of getting sitars and putting beats over it and flutes. And there were a few bands, say Paul's Boutique or something like that.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about that.
That are hallmark, that are kind of reference points. But at the same time, no one was doing exactly the combination of things I wanted it to be. And I was really annoyed with, the whole NME kind of boys with guitars kind of scene. It was kind of like a little boys kind of wet dream club, you know what I mean? It was like it was skinny jeans, and they all think they're really cool, and it was very sort of one-dimensional homoerotic macho bullshit. I kind of wanted to bust out of that and make something much more feminine and much more sort of 3D and referenced the world, rather than Camden, and seeing no reason why all my favorite things couldn't kind of clash and be rammed together, because I saw kind of similarities, between, say, a Bollywood string sound and a Sonic Youth wig out, you know what I mean? Or car chases with, why couldn't you have kind of distorting drums over a kind of blaring car chase music, things like that. So I kind of saw natural sort of Venn diagram overlaps between all these things I was digging. So I was looking around and seeing that people were ramming genres together, but not anywhere near enough as much as I thought they should be. I always thought bands which had the same vocal style, the same drum sound, the same guitar sound over a whole album, I just didn't get that. I wanted it to be, as I said earlier, that's a channel hopping kind of idea, much more. I was really into that. And kind of a Technicolor, much more about feel, when you close your eyes and you imagine a city like New York or something like that. I think New York for me was a big influence because it was lots of the things I'm into, from, Woody Allen, Sesame Street, kind of wild style, the early days of hip hop and Sonic Youth and Velvet Underground, Andy Warhol, it's like literally everything I was into. Midnight Cowboy kind of came from there for some reason. So I kind of subconsciously kind of got in there. So the Go Team's never been about kind of like my lived experience, like, hey, let me sing about my life and it's autobiographical or anything like that. It's much more kind of like secondhand memories, when you kind of remember things from throughout your life and you kind of grab them.
That's well said. So Paul's Boutique was a touchstone and was something like 3 Feet High and Rising by De La Soul also.
Yeah, particularly in the feel, that kind of Technicolor feel, it's a sort of subconscious thing. I kind of like things that are kind of a bit hippie-ish and a bit Technicolor and a bit smashed up, and it's kind of all those kind of words really. It's a sort of subconscious thing, but certainly that kind of feel, yeah. And I was frustrated that people weren't doing more of that kind of thing, maybe,
How about you, Ninja? Were those things, those touchstones, on your radar at all at the time?
Be more specific.
Oh, like Paul's Boutique by the Beastie Boys and 3 Feet High and Rising by De La Soul.
None of those words you just said mean anything to me. apart from De La Soul, but none of those other things. I didn't like. Paul's Boutique was a clothing brand when I was younger.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what or who that is.
You're right. So that's interesting. That didn't translate. So what kind of, like, the gangster stuff you were talking about, like Tim Dog and who else were you
and
referencing?
Gangstar and Mobb Deep.
Oh, Gangstar, yeah.
Wu-Tang and Dead Prez. We think KRS, Outkast, earlier stuff was really good. Tribe Called Quest, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. So what were you doing? You were at university when you joined the Go Team, right?
Yeah.
What was your dissertation on?
Ooh, it was on, there's an artist called Joss Stone, and she's British, she's white with blonde hair, and she has a really lovely raspy tone, and she sings lots of soul and Motown songs. And my dissertation was called something along the lines of, she made a comment. She said, it's not Black music, it's God's music. And my dissertation was about her comment, and it was why it is Black music and not God's music. Mm-hmm. And so I did my 10,000 words on why it's Black music. And on the first page, I said, what if you don't believe in God? Then whose music is it? And then I went on to break down the history of Black music, because it was very ignorant of her to not know, where her music has come from, what she's singing about, and where the influences are from. And it just angered me so much. I needed to write 10,000 words on why she was wrong.
Right. That's amazing.
You also missed the part out where we all got signed to Sony, and we got to leave our jobs finally because we ran out of sick days and ran out of holidays. And I was doing my dissertation on the tour bus. I was in my last year of university, and they gave me extra time. Yeah, so we finally got to leave our jobs and be in a band full time.
I think it's probably like 2005, something like that. Yeah.
How did that all come to fruition, that you realized that you had something special with this project, that it would be worth quitting? Or did you keep the job in documentary?
I think I did it for a little while. I think I think we went off and did South by Southwest, and then I came back to my job. It's mental. We were like the hottest thing in South by Southwest that year, and then I'd go back and sit in an office. It's like. So I think my boss actually vaguely gave me the sack because he just thought, I think he just said, go and do your music, But I think I went and made a documentary about animals in the movies. So I went to a Hollywood film set and filmed on the set of a film called Shaggy Dog, and then came back and did a Go Team gig, and so it was a little way in there. But yeah, it was an amazing feeling though. Particularly, I was kind of pleased that it was later in life, like 30 rather than 18, that you weren't a twat about it. So you'd appreciate it, and it would be everything was a prize. The first time you go to America, the first time you go to Japan and stuff, and
I'd imagine if you do it at that age too, it's a little bit more clear-eyed than a drunken whirlwind or something, Or was it a drunken whirlwind?
Well, a bits and pieces, but we never. I mean, we were never sort of bought into that rock and roll mythology fantasy anyway. We were pretty level-headed, and we'd go and play frisbee after the gigs and stuff.
Oh, that's great. You made the first album, and what's the legend has it? It's like at your parents' house while they were away.
Yeah, that's true.
Were you living at home at that point?
I was in Brighton. They live in Wales.
Okay.
So I packed up a drum kit and my samplers and stuff like that, and went there. I think they were on holiday. Yeah. So it was in the kitchen. I think the mixing desk was in the basement. The drum kit was in the kitchen. So I'd have to run downstairs, press record, run upstairs, do a take, mess it up, go and do it again. Sometimes my grandma would come in and make a cup of tea while I was in the middle of a drum take, things like that.
Oh, so she was at the house.
I think she would visit occasionally and check up on me or whatever, But yeah, so I didn't imagine this album would do well particularly, but I knew that I was doing something original, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking, say after we mixed Huddle Formation, thinking, okay, I've never heard a song like that before. If nothing else, it's that.
Right.
The concept of kind of hipsterdom or hype and things like that all came out of the blue,
So you put together the album, and do you have any aspirations whatsoever of putting together the band?
I don't know if I was thinking that far ahead. I knew that I wouldn't, if it came to it. I definitely wanted to, I think. I knew that if it came to it, I couldn't do it on my own. I liked the look of someone hunched over a laptop on stage. The visual triggering of samples isn't interesting to me, It was kind of trying to give me an excuse to just jump around with the guitar, really. That's the part of it I dig, because nothing's going to beat that, really.
Right.
Standing over an MPC pushing a button, that just doesn't do it. So it basically came to a point where I couldn't not have a band. There were offers coming in, and I kept turning them down and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
As the hype grew and grew. So yeah, eventually I said yes to a festival in Sweden who were kind of just were on it. So really sort of hipster festival, and I think that it gave me like literally a couple of months or 3 months or something to try and get my ass into gear. So it was like that's when Ninja came in.
Right, enter Ninja. So how did you two?
Enter the Ninja.
Yes, exactly. Enter the Ninja. So how did you all find each other?
I was rapping various places at the time. I was in lots of different people's rap groups because apparently I was the only female rapper in the whole of London. So every time I met a guy who was a producer or rapper, yeah, man, you got to come join us. Yeah, meet in the studio, go studio. So I'd be like, cool. And then, yeah, one of us. So I was in all these different rap groups all over London. And no one ever was really doing anything. People just meeting up and like recording, but there wasn't a way forward at the time. So I was always on the lookout for just stuff, just like auditions or musical related stuff, performance related stuff, just in general. And then I was online one day and I saw an ad somewhere saying female rapper wanted. And then I just responded, female rapper found. And then I got sent a CD of instrumentals, and I was supposed to turn them into songs, basically. So the first album was loads of instrumentals, and I had to write verses and choruses for them. I remember there was one song that I didn't do, and it was, I can't remember, Ian, you'll know which one. The one with the Pac-Man video.
Oh yeah, Junior Kickstart, yeah.
Junior Kickstart, because I loved that song so much. I was like, nah, if I write anything to this, it will just ruin it. So there was one song that I left because I just really liked it as an instrumental. And then I met the rest of the band in the studio, but I didn't realise, I just thought they all knew each other. It wasn't till way down the line that I found that no one else, everyone was new to it all. I was just the last person to join. And when we went I just wanted to go to Sweden as well.
Yeah.
The first I was told about a festival in Sweden, I was like, yeah, Sweden, I'd like to go there. So I was at university, I was working part-time for Nike, then I was tutoring kids that got thrown out of school for their GCSE. So that would be like high school, like almost last year of high school to America.
Mm-hmm.
So I was tutoring them. Yeah. And then that's what I was doing at that time. We went to Sweden. And
I should say the first few practices, Ninja didn't open her mouth for.
Oh yes, I forgot about that.
Really?
I was to rap or sing anyway. We were getting really worried. You were just sizing us up, weren't you?
Well, I didn't think about it. For me, I was taking it all in. I was trying to visualize what I would do while I was watching what you lot were doing. So I was like, I need to know what the band is doing so I know what I can bring. That's what I was thinking. So I was just watching everyone. I was visualizing what the songs would be. And then I was seeing how I would fit in and how I would perform the music. I was just visualizing. That's all I was doing. But I needed to see everyone playing. And I think at some point, I did pick up on the fact that Ian was getting a bit worried that he hadn't heard anything.
But he already had the tape, though, right? With you rapping over the songs.
No, he didn't have anything.
I thought he gave you the tape and you recorded over it and then gave it back to him. So Ian, you had no idea.
The CD in the post, and I just listened to it, and then I wrote some stuff. And I just watched the band play in the studio every time we met up. And I didn't do anything.
All right, see you next week. Same time again next week.
But in my head, I was
lunch with you.
But in my head, I was confident. I just knew this is what it was just what I needed to do.
I had a hunch you were going to be wicked as well.
Yeah.
So I knew it'd come good, but I just knew you were just like biding your time, you know.
So had you ever seen Ninja rap at all before?
I don't think so.
No, we just met up one day.
Okay.
And I remember Ian looked like Jamiroquai. He was wearing this woolly hat and this like really slim face. You just looked like it. I just remember you reminded me of him. And we had a conversation at that point, but that was it. I don't think you really heard anything.
I think I was that up against it.
Wow.
It was literally, go. Yeah.
At what point were you able to finally appreciate what Ninja could bring to the table?
I mean, it was always right up until Sweden. It was a bit of a mystery. I think we kind of got better as Sweden. We did 3 nights in a row in Sweden, didn't we? I think we started off. It was a bit wobbly. I think by the last night, I thought, yeah, I think we've got a good little thing going here. But yeah, I mean, the whole first year was a learning process, really. I think Ninja's got better and better, as it went on and we became more of a unit and stuff.
Right.
Because, it was a kind of a mission statement, if you want to say, that I didn't want to just be another band with a bunch of mates from school, who all like the same stuff. I like the difference between us was what I was most interested in, so... Because I didn't really see that in bands.
Right. So where did you find everybody else? Where did they all come from?
Well, I mean, the lineup's changed over the years. So the lineup I'm talking about then is kind of not as it is now.
Right.
So there's been a few. So yeah, I mean, Jamie, the bassist, was kind of propositioned me when he heard my first EP. He sent me a random email. And then, just lots of different ways, really. Sam Duke on guitar was on the same label as me, Pickled Egg. So he was like sort of a bedroom warrior as well, little noise fan, So I knew I had a kind of a brother in noise with him. He kind of got it. He kind of got the feedbacky side of the band,
Mm-hmm.
And then Kai was a girl who I literally asked someone in my work if they knew anyone. And it was all kind of stuff like that, really. I knew that having half girls, half boys was quite a big deal to me,
Yeah, it's interesting too, as I'm looking on from the outside, obviously, but I see the through line through every release. There's just this overarching positivity. Was that something you had to explain to people, or it's probably they just got it from listening, right?
I don't think so. I mean, you mean band members?
Yeah.
No, I've never really articulated that, and it's never even been particularly an overt plan or anything. I think it's just a natural byproduct of action, of kind of wanting it to be action-packed and stuff like that. Even when I set out to make a more downbeat record, it still kind of comes out as this kind of upbeat thing. And I never use the words like happy or upbeat or anything like that, because they're just It's just such a one-dimensional word, you know, it doesn't really mean anything, you know. I kind of like the tension between melancholy and positivity or whatever, you know, all those kind of things. But certainly I would never sit down and say, hey, I'm going to write a positive song today. You know, it just seems to be a natural thing. It's obviously something I can't shake off. And because, you know, I'm not exactly like a kid's TV presenter in real life, you know. If anyone knew me, I don't think they'd particularly associate me with that sound, you know. It's just something that obviously some sonic fingerprint shit going on. I don't know what it is, you know. But no, I never had to justify why this song has got recorders on it or anything, you know.
Did you have any internal struggle, or not internal, just within yourself about what the band was becoming in the transition from the recording to the stage?
No, I knew it was hard. I knew it was a different thing, and we weren't going to totally make the live thing a carbon copy of the album, you know, but no one was going to do that unless I had like an orchestra and a brass section and a gospel choir and whatever, you know. So, and there were 6 of us already, you know. I was digging the way we were aggro, we'd jump around, we were all different, we'd make a racket. I thought we were a cool bunch, you know what I mean? So it happened faster than I'd like it to have done, really. You know, and I think Pitchfork, you know, back in the days when they kind of had the overnight, the muscle to make it you overnight sort of thing. We were kind of mainlined right into hipster central overnight, pretty much. You know, it happened quite quickly, and maybe our set list wasn't long enough in those early days. I think we'd kind of make it to like half an hour and then say goodnight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there were people shouting, "One more song, one more." I had to come back on stage and go, "We don't have any more."
It happened too quickly for my life. I'd prefer to be like a slow burn band. I kind of think we are in a way. You know, I still think people are finding out about us even like 15 years down the line, you know. But yeah, I think the problem with being hipsterdom is that there'll be a certain contingent for whom we are always associated with 2004. You know what I mean?
Right.
That kind of buzz, kind of bloggy thing that was happening around then. You know, us and tapes and all those kind of all them lot that you don't particularly, you know, the fact that we're still around all these years on and they're not, you know what I mean? Our contemporaries like CSS or Klaxons or whatever are kind of long gone, and I still think there's more to be had from the Go team, you know, more. I think it still sounds fresh and relevant and whatever you want to say, you know. So
it's interesting. I was thinking about that today. I was like reading like where some of the intersections were with, you know, you and Simian Mobile Disco and all those types of bands. And you almost kind of feel cheated for investing your time in bands of that era and then they're gone, you know?
Yeah, I don't know why they're gone. I think certain bands like the Klaxons or CSS have kind of dated worse than we have, you know, for some reason. Yeah. Right.
So you mentioned not having to explain to anybody why a song is going to have recorders on it. And now, Ninja, you play recorder some, so maybe you can tell me when he gave you the recorder, what was your reaction?
I was like, ha, music is useful. In my head, I was thinking I'd like to say that to my parents, because in primary school, they taught us to play the recorder because it's like the cheapest, you know, instruments that you can get hold of then. So I was pretty good at it as well. So, I was quite excited to put my recorder playing skills to use.
That's great.
And also, everyone in the band is so talented. They all play loads of different stuff. And all I did was vocals, man, and like maybe a triangle if I'm lucky. So it's like playing the recorders, me going, yes, I too am a motivated.
So now this is going well for everybody around that time. And the buzz is huge. And Ninja, are you able to find validation from your parents? Is that even something you're bothering to seek, or?
I don't know if that will ever come, but it's okay. I don't seek validation from anybody.
There you go.
Otherwise, I never would have gone into this industry. You know, yeah, it's a challenging industry to be in, and you got to be tough. So that's my resilience is what's getting me through, not what other people.
I like that. It's good. So then comes the follow-up, and you got to take a few years for that. And, you know, or were you still feeling rushed at that time?
I can't remember. I never took time out or anything. I don't seem to remember. And I never do. I'm always hustling away with melodies every day pretty much, there was a lot of pressure, I seem to remember, and it's probably my least favorite record, actually, Proof of Youth. It has its moments, but
you got Chuck D, so
yeah, that's right. that's one of the moments. But yeah, we were a band now. That was the key difference, so I'd gone from Thunderlight Strike. It was a solo record pretty much, and then we were a band, so we took over a space in Brighton, and me and Jamie and Sam would kind of go in every day and pull people in when we needed it, So the process was completely different. No matter what we do, there seems to be some kind of hallmark. It's the Go Team within seconds of a song coming on, I think that's been the case with everything we've done, even if it's, some windswept banjo song or some action-packed car chase song, I think there's something recognisable that kind of flows through it all, hopefully.
Yeah, we know that because we've had to sue people for stealing our sound. That's a thing,
For real?
Yes.
Who?
Because there are fans around the world.
McDonald's did a shocking rip-off for a McDonald's advert in, I can't remember, wasn't it, Mexico or something like that.
Was it Thailand or something? Wasn't there one somewhere around that area, Thailand kind of? Google have done it as well.
They coughed up.
Wow.
McDonald's did. Yeah.
How on earth did you even get wind of that?
I think somebody tipped the label off.
Yeah. This song sounds like the Go Team, but we know it's not you, sort of thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And then around that time was when kind of like Girl Talk was starting. And did you ever get into him and the stuff he does with the mashups?
Kind of. It's a bit bargain basement for me. It's a bit. I don't know. I've never really been from a club background, you see. I'm not a... I can't... I've never come from that angle. I've come from the noise angle.
Right.
So, yeah, I've never kind of... a bit suspicious of, party.
Right.
Contrary to what people might think, I never wouldn't use us. I would never say we're a party band or anything like that.
Well, I guess more in particular, just kind of the mashup became a thing.
Too many DJs as well. There were certain moments of that, say when they put like Salt and Pepper over the Stooges or something like that.
Yeah,
it's almost like I'd think, hey, I'd like that to actually be if somebody could make an original song like that, that'd be amazing, So there were certain moments, definitely. But it's about detail for me, It's about, I don't just say, hey, I'm mixing soul with indie or whatever, It's more about, okay, Shirley Ellis meets the Meters, you know what I mean? It's about that ride cymbal sound, or it's much more laser beamy than, hey, I like everything,
And instead, it's like you can't necessarily see the ingredients in what is in your mix.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
You go onto that whosampled.com site. I don't know if you've ever been on there, but you know, going through Go Team tracks is just like, wow, okay, that is from that song. I couldn't tell it was from that song.
Yeah, I think I'd never sample anything that was too well known. And for me, the art form is about the clash of things next to each other. It's about reversing things or putting different chords over the top of things. It's about, sampling can be really lame. Putting a beat under someone else's wicked song. It's not doing it for me.
So tell me a little bit about, I mentioned Chuck D, and you started having more collaborators who already had established themselves in the Deerhoof collaboration. And was that a dream come true, or was it just something cool to do with the status you had acquired? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it was lots to do with me racking my, the minute I heard, for instance, the Satomi Secretary song, actually, the minute I heard that melody, I thought, hang on, that sounds a bit like it was a natural thing just to, try and get her on it and stuff. And obviously Chuck D was a dream come true.
Ninja, did you get to be there for that session?
Nobody was there for that session.
Really?
He did it remotely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
Wow, even back then, remote recording was something wow.
Yeah. The same. It's been the same with everyone I've worked with, I think. Best Coast.
Yeah. How about you two? Have you even seen each other since this whole coronavirus began?
Have I even seen my mum since this coronavirus began?
I think I saw you about this time last year. I last saw you, wasn't it, Ninja, in your baby thing?
Ah, yes. Ian came down to my baby shower.
Oh, excellent. So you're a mom now?
I am.
Wow, congrats.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So this year would have been a quiet one for the Go team anyway.
Right.
We've got 2 babies in the band at the minute. You know, Nia has a baby as well, and she's an island. So we're all over the shop.
That's interesting. And I think it was like around this time last year, Ninja, that you mentioned that you guys were all working on a new album.
Yeah, I was like 2 weeks before I had to give birth and I was in the studio.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I was the last person to record on the album. So it was meant to come out this year and that's obviously been delayed.
Right. Is that the sessions that the Cookie Scene single comes from?
No, that Cookie Scene has a guest rapper on it from Detroit. So she did that over in Detroit. This is for a different song. So yeah, I do lots of different vocal sessions.
Yeah,
for different songs, you know.
But that was the song. The intention was that song would be on a larger album coming out.
Oh yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it will still be on the next record, probably. Yeah.
So then there was Rolling Blackouts, and you mentioned that you don't love Proof of Youth. How do you feel about Rolling Blackouts now?
I really loved Proof of Youth because it was fun. It was the album that sounds like you're in the hall with it being recorded. There's a really nice live sound to it.
It was closer to us live, wasn't it? Yeah.
How about Rolling Blackouts? Do you both feel the same about that? I mean, we got differing opinions on Proof of Youth, so...
I think Rolling Blackouts is one of the better records, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like this about everything. I'm never happy with anything, but it's pretty solid, yeah. It's all over the shop and it's pretty punchy, but I think the songs still stand up for sure, I think.
Ninja?
I'm jumping on Spotify right now to remind myself of what's on Rolling Blackouts.
Speaking of Spotify, that playlist, the Go Team's Favorites, is so good. It's like, Is that just something you hack away at every now and then?
Yeah, that's all my stuff, that is.
Yeah.
That's like my brain on a playlist, yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I have like an 8-hour instrumental playlist I've made since the beginning of the Spotify being available in the States. And sure enough, like there's like 5 songs on your playlist that I'd never heard before that are instrumentals and perfect.
Any discoveries?
Yeah. Let's see. I got to go to my instrumental and moving you playlist to see which ones I added. There's the one Ennio Morricone that I hadn't been familiar with. I always thought he was just the spaghetti western stuff, but
all right. What is it? My Neighbor's Nobody.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I think you name checked that earlier too.
Yeah, that's a good Blueprint song. That's a good Go Team Blueprint song. That.
Oh, cool. And then like Norma and the Heartaches, never heard of them before, and then Piero Pizzioni.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, good stuff.
Cool. Yeah.
So Ninja, you've looked at Spotify, done some reconnaissance.
I did. Yeah. No, I really like Rolling Blackouts.
Oh, good. Good.
Some good ones on there.
Then the scene between is just you again, pretty much, Ian.
Yeah, it was kind of the band kind of. Well, I mean, Jamie and Cowrie kind of left the band. They had a kid. They became a couple in the band. It was like ABBA or something.
Or Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
Weren't they together already? I don't know.
I don't know. Some love triangle shit going down. Anyway, so yeah, it felt like the end of a road of some kind, the end of the line for that kind of era. It was getting harder and harder to play live and stuff. So it just made sense just to kind of stop playing live for a bit. I still do music and I still didn't see any reason why I couldn't keep doing it, you know, and I was always thinking I wanted to do kind of melodic songy songs, you know, things that were kind of the classic pop song in a way that was kind of brill building, but kind of put it behind a wall of, you know, VHS kind of wobble, you know. Mm-hmm. So that was where that was coming from. It's just kind of wall to wall melody, and it's not particularly representative of the band in a way, but I think certain melody, the kind of a sense of melody, is kind of unmistakably us, you know. Yeah, I think that it's kind of like an indie pop record. Really, it's kind of got more in common with like Yo La Tengo or something, or you know. Do you all play the songs from that album still? I think we played The Scene Between, but that was the only one we played in the last tour. They're quite hard to play. Yeah, we tried playing The Art of Getting By, which was recorded with like the London African Gospel Choir for the record, and it was so hard to pull it off when we were doing it live.
Ninja, what do you do with yourself on downtime? I know because Ian said he's always doing music, and what do you occupy your time with mostly? I mean, now I know there's something else that's occupying your time, but
before the baby, I was making music. Actually, I recorded loads of stuff, nothing that I've released as yet, but I've got kind of project ideas. I was working on this girl band idea just before I got pregnant, and it had Simone in the band in it, and actually had Nia in it.
Mm-hmm.
There was three of us doing this rock band thing, and I'd written some songs for that, and just been in the studio and networking and meeting lots of different people who do lots of interesting things within the music industry, and been doing talks at universities on careers in the industry, so unis and colleges and schools and stuff, and just kind of immersing myself in the industry and learning more about music and what I'm capable of as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just doing that really, which was a lot for me. I don't know what it sounds like, but it was a lot for me. So I've still got loads of songs that I haven't done anything with. But I do hope to, I don't just want to have a baby and then that's it. Like, you never hear from me again. Like, I want to stay within the music industry. So hopefully you'll hear something from Ninja in some form.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I didn't mean to imply that. It's just that I have a child too, and it's all consuming for a little while.
Yeah, it does change things. It does change things. So I have to kind of figure that out. So all of this stuff that's going on right now is a blessing in disguise, because I don't have to make decisions because they've been made for me. I'm not allowed allowed to go on tour,
Right.
So I'm trying to find my feet in terms of who I am as a mother and musician.
Well, it's interesting too. We were talking a little bit about the collaborators that the Go team had, but then you were being sought for collaborations with bands like Cut Chemist and Simian Mobile Disco. And
yes,
how were those experiences?
They were really interesting. I would receive quite a few emails through the record label, and they'd ask me, do you want to do this? Do you want to work with that person? So again, I met some quite interesting people. The Simian Mobile Disco thing was really funny. I'd never heard of them before. Before I was in a band, I didn't really care about other bands or anyone in other genres that I don't listen to. So everyone was new to me. Lots of people who were established and well-known and stuff and selling out. I didn't know who any of these people were. So that's great for me, because I don't have to get starstruck or act stupid or anything like that. So I went to the studio, and they had this room, wall-to-wall keyboards. Like, you couldn't see the wall through the keyboards. And basically they put on some tracks, and I told them the ones that I liked. And then I went into like a little booth in the room. It was pretty casual. And I started doing, I don't remember why, but I started doing some like playful raps and rhymes that I used to do in school. Like when you're a kid, we go, grandma, sick in bed, call the doctor. And the doctor said, just random stuff. They said, yeah, just keep going. So I was like rapping just lots of really random playful rhymes, and they loved it. So yeah, more of that. I don't know what was going on. So I didn't know what they were going to do with what I had done. Same as with the Go team, really. Like, I record stuff and I don't know what the hell Ian's going to do with my vocals. I'm just used to it. So I was familiar with that process of not knowing what they were going to do. And when they released some songs, they happened to have picked two that I was on to release on their album. Yeah, so that was interesting to hear what they had picked, what they had liked, because they do that dance music. So they just pick snippets of things.
Right.
And then the Cut Chemist thing. Yeah, I remember that. I forgot about that. I don't even have a copy of that. I don't even remember how it sounds. You do your research, don't you? Yes. Yeah.
Tell me when you got the band back together again for Semicircle, or not even together again because it's a lot of new members. And Ninja, are you the only constant aside from Ian?
Me, Ian, and Sam are three.
Sam, that's right. You all did a pilgrimage to Detroit for Semicircle, right?
I did, yeah.
Oh, it was just you? You didn't go, Ninja?
I wanted to come. Ian didn't ask me.
Oh, sorry. I'm opening some old wounds.
We've been to Detroit before. My condolences to the people of Detroit. But it would have been nice to go there again.
Tell me about that trip and what your mission was. I mean,
well, I've just had a thing about community bands, really. Not so much gospel, because that's all a bit perfect and a bit but something a bit rough around the edges. And so I kind of just put the feel out for American teenage community choirs, I suppose. And the person that was most enthusiastic was the leader of the Detroit Youth Choir, who was this bloke called Mr. White, who everyone calls Mr. White. And I think he actually called me up and said, get over here, kind of thing. And so I went with my next door neighbour because he's a cameraman. So I thought, it'd be good to capture it somehow. I'd turn up and there were like hundreds of them, like, mums and dads, brothers and sisters running around. I had to get like literally industrial scale amounts of KFC for them and stuff like that. So it was kind of like a wrangling process as much as anything, because I'd try, I'd have all the melodies and the lyrics kind of locked down. And then it was like trying different people and kind of asking Mr. White, who would be good for this? And he'd go, you. And he'd be really sort of stern with them and boss them around and stuff on my behalf. It was quite good. But he was my like wingman. He would, really help me out, and I'd say, okay, this bit's like a spoken word thing, a bit like, for May Day, it would be like kind of like a girl group, kind of like the Shangri-La's kind of spoken word thing. And I'd say, who's the drama queen in the choir? And he'd go, her over there. So we'd get her. So it was really interesting. You just kind of had the feel of kind of raw talent that would have could go to waste, or kind of some of it was about letting go and letting them muck around. Other bits was me kind of asking them to do things, it's kind of a combination. My favourite moment was when I, in a song called Semicircle song, I asked them to introduce themselves and say their star sign. So it was like, I'm whatever, I'm Shaquille, I'm a Libra or whatever.
Right. And that's become a good live moment. I've seen Ninja, you do that with the audience.
That's cool. I haven't seen it. I can't watch stuff back. But,
Really?
Me too. Did you see that Melbourne show we did in like 2004?
Yes, I think that's what it was.
It's just they've just been replaying on Australian radio, but I can't bring myself to listen to it. I'm the same as you, Ninja. I can't watch stuff back.
Yeah, I need years of distance.
One thing I wanted to ask about is, Ninja, you talked about your dissertation on, this is definitely black music, about what Joss Stone was singing. And one of the things that's so inspiring about the Go Team is that it does feel like more than just black music and more than just white music. It feels like, I don't know. I mean, I guess if either of you could talk about what the Go Team is as far as from a cultural participation perspective.
I've never thought about it, but I like the idea of us, if you think of Michael Jackson, he was just a guy who loved music and managed to get people of all ages and races in front of his stage while he played music. And to this day, a Michael Jackson song can come on and everyone in the room can enjoy it. I like to think of it that way. I think the black community hasn't been exposed to the Go Team. Whenever we played a show, if I saw a black person, I'd be like, yeah, man, you. I'd get really excited. I'd point to them in the crowd and stuff. They just hadn't been exposed to it. But I think if they were, I think they would enjoy it just as much as the white people were enjoying it. So I like that on stage, we, not on purpose, but we do kind of represent, this is for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of give that off. There are people that listen to us when they were in school and in university, and they've grown up with us, and they'll introduce their children to it as well. And then it's like, now we're for all the ages as well. And it's really nice. I like that idea. I think that's important, but we've done it without making a big deal of it. It was never, I don't know if it was a conscious thing. It's just kind of happened, and it works really well. And also, again, as I said to you, I don't care for other indie bands. Like I know what I do kind of now. I do listen to them now, but I never, in the first few years of being in the band, I just didn't care who these bands were. Like we were nominated for a Mercury Music Prize, and I didn't know who anybody was. Sitting at tables of all of these successful bands, I was like, cool. So who are you? But they all look the same. All skinny white guys with gelled hair, and they will keep a beer can on the side of the stage, drink it between songs, and then kick it over at the end of the set. I just kept seeing the same thing. So it was really nice that we were able to offer something a little bit different, and that promoters at festivals realized that as well, that we could give something a little bit different. You got this lineup of all these greasy guys, greasy, drunk, angry guys in really tight jeans, and then you got us.
Right.
So that was nice to see. I hope that we were a refreshing change to a lineup, to every lineup.
Ian, do you have anything to say about that?
I mean, it's just a reflection of the shit I dig, really. You know what I mean? It's like I've always been interested in where black and white music can overlap and taking the best things from each of them. You know what I mean? How white music's normally kind of downstrokey and wearing shades and thinking you're really cool and all that kind of stuff. You know, so the Velvet Underground-y feedback and experimental things. That's the kind of side I'm interested in. But then I've always been obsessed with kind of female soul, like Northern Soul, and early hip hop like Roxanne Shante and stuff like that, and double Dutch and the feel of wild style, and so it's quite specific and stuff. So I've always thought the band's kind of a bit kind of utopian in a way. It's the world as I wish it was in a way, almost. So it's not literally like my life, but it's kind of like I wish the world was in a way. I'm imagining, multiculturalism and socialism and technicolor and cool hobbies and cool films and, all the best things in the world all rolled together, really. So it's quite idealistic and utopian in a way. And I wish my life was more like it in a way,
I think we all wish our lives were more like the music we love. Don't you, listeners? That's why music is our lives, to bring us closer to that utopia. And hey, if you want to get closer to your own musical utopia, this is where I segue into a pitch for Berklee Online, because I've got a deal for you. Because you listen to the Music is My Life podcast, you can take a 12-week course with Berklee Online and save $100. So head over to musicismylifepod.com right now and redeem this special offer. You'll also get a link to all sorts of free resources, so check it out, musicismylifepod.com. This episode was edited by Talia Smith, mastered by Jose David Vindis-Mora, all visual assets coordinated by Mike DeBenedictis, social media by Brooke Larson, web assistance comes from Mark Thomas, Steve Zimmerman, and Joe McDonough. I wrote and recorded the Music is My Life theme song, but the expert remixing comes courtesy of Lily Dickinson. Special thanks to Gabriel Reifer-Cohen, Ashley Pointer, my old friend Hector Silva at Chromatic, Matt Jacob at Memphis Industries, and thanks to you for listening. Take note to join us on November 9th for our 50th episode. We have a very special guest that I almost don't want to give away yet. I'll give you a hint though. The Upsetter. And if you tune in, you will not be upset. Does that make sense? Anyway, stay safe, listeners. We'll talk soon.
And don't forget to vote.